TPE Network. Fun yet informative podcasts.
Hello and welcome to Mouse House Plus. It's our TPE Network's Disney Plus television series recap podcast. I'm Hank and I'm joined by John.
And I'm John.
This is the worst opening ever.
My
My fault.
Man.
My fault. All right. Well, we're going to get into the season or series finale. This was only supposed to be a limited run, correct, John?
Yes, but they specifically stated that this was the season finale.
Okay. So they didn't say series.
Never said series.
Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll find out. But this one was titled Gods and Monsters. In the shallow water, Mark is drugged out by Harrow's men. They take that statue from his dead body. And he does call out whoever else might be there. Now, do you feel like they made Arthur a little too, like, he knows everything? He can always figure everything out. He's like 10 steps ahead.
I mean, I can believe it. I mean, he knows something else is going on or someone's there. So, of course, but he's not bothered with it because he's got the statue now. So, who cares? So, I mean, honestly, there could have been no one there, and he could just have been saying that because he's so maniacal that he could just be talking to himself just to get it all out.
Talking to his other personality.
Yep.
His cane transforms and glows purplish. And I was like, that's kind of cool how that sucker moved like that. I was like, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, like I had to sit there and stare at it because it went rump, and it kind of like just like it came over and became the Jaws, and I was like, okay, that's interesting.
It
Like,
gave
I
me
blinked for a second, and somehow it changed.
It gave me the Power Rangers kind of feel, like their little character that you could, one of the little what are they, lions or whatever.
Yes, I know what you're talking about, and no, unfortunately, I didn't think that, but part of me wishes it was something a little bit cooler, like the jackal head was, interesting, but I'll be honest, I don't know what I would want it to have been, but I could have gone without it. But I mean, that's a little petty thing if we're really trying to be picky about it.
It's Layla to the rescue, but nope. She can't rescue Mark because he is clearly dead. And then does she just kind of do a Titanic and just allow him to float away?
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, there's room on that door. There's room. But she has the scarab compass. I like how they make her really crafty, as far as she's trying to be on that Harrow level where she's kind of thinking ahead.
Well, yeah, but then Harrow leaves it there as a parting gift for whoever to find him. I mean, I was thinking, like, dude, just take everything with you. Stop playing the crazy, person who thinks they won. You haven't won yet. You haven't released her. So, but yeah, but this is interesting because this is the thing that keeps leading up to what she eventually becomes. Because here she is running around with the scarab.
That's true. Harrow releases souls, Thanos style, and I couldn't come up. I wanted to have something rhyme with the snap, but he didn't clap. He pounded the cane onto the ground. I was like, why couldn't he have clapped or something instead of the snap? It could have been the clap.
What? No, Hank, no. You're saying that now, and it sounds just wrong. No.
Oh, one good man in the bunch. What was that about when they, they're going to get stopped by those Egyptian, were they police officers or like, I don't know, border patrol or something? I don't know.
Border patrol. I mean, it's more or less just police out there because of just all the things that are going on. A lot of times when they go out the desert, they want to make sure that people aren't stealing like artifacts and stuff, so that you have checkpoints coming back into the city.
And I love how the one guy survived. Man. He was the one goody two shoes in the bunch. That was awesome.
Now, This next scene, I had to rewind back and then rewind it again and watch it last night just to make sure, because I was just like, you know what? I think I have a new favorite character for the or the embodiment of this series is the hippo, because this is just becomes so silly.
Yes, when they're down, all those border agents are down, and Layla's walking through there, and they just start talking as I can never say the hungry hippo's name, Tawawek or
Hold
whatever.
on, I'm looking it up.
Tawawek or something. I can never say it right. Get an easier name to pronounce.
Tyrett, yeah.
But
Taylor, yeah. Sorry.
see what I'm saying? It's not so easy, is it? So she's like, you can be my avatar and break Khonshu's Ashanti, you know? And that was the first mention of that whole ordeal. Did you think she was going to go down that path?
No, because I thought that she was going to end up being exactly what you were suggesting, that she would end up being the Moon Knight. But at the same notion, you know, this whole scene where she basically kept popping up in dead bodies, and she's just like, you know, I buried the dead. I'm here with Mark. I can do these things. Leave me alone.
And
that entire, like, her becoming an avatar skipped over me. I didn't even catch it until the second watching.
Really?
Yeah. No, her saying it in that scene.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I was thinking to myself, isn't there a ton more people that are dying even at that point where she would be needed to get back there and be ferrying stuff, or do you just ferry people one at a time?
She's God. She can do what she wants. No,
Television.
Put everybody on pause.
Television. The dumb avatars finally buy a clue that Harrow is bad. Can you tell me what reality we live in where they didn't understand what he was doing this entire time? That was the dumbest. It was so stupid to me. I was like, why would you...
Okay. So I've been thinking about this, why they haven't had more interaction. And the reason being is because they're only avatars. The gods that they are basically sprouting or getting their power allowance from are not on that plane. They're not seeing what all is going on. They're trying to live their lives or live whatever experiences they get in the natural world through their avatars. So unless the avatar sees it, then they don't know what's going on. It's different for what's going on with Moon Knight, because his god is still on that plane running around, so he can actually go and visit things.
Okay. I'll let you have that one, but it just seems very unlikely that they know all these other secrets and things that are transpiring, but they have no idea. They can't just peer in on Arthur Harrow for 5 minutes while he is making a cult out of a gigantic community, and he only talks about Emmett. I mean, exclusively. He just constantly is just like, Emmett this, Emmett that, and when we release him, like, man, I feel like a good private investigator would have overheard some of that.
And you're right about that, but I think it's the avatars are just very naive, and where they think that, you know, their last thing that they said is right, and just leave it at that.
So he's able to take care of them, the other avatars, and then he releases Emmett, and Emmett says Harrow's scales lack balance, but she still wants him as her avatar. Did you think he was going to get killed by Emmett?
I did. I thought she was going to lop that head right on off.
No need for you anymore. Wow.
That's right.
And then that would have been a good swerve if she would have somehow got Layla, somehow convinced her that she could bring back Mark or something. I don't know. That would have been a cool swerve if they would have went that route, but they did not. All right, so Layla frees Khonshu, and then and then Layla denies him being the Avatar, which I was shocked because I thought this is exactly where I thought that they would go with this one.
Yeah, this whole scene where he like did the whole speech and he was being very proper with it, and she's just like, "No, go away," and he's like, "Huh?"
Yeah, he was shocked.
Yeah,
He's like,
so
really?
All that. She's like, "I'm not going to be your Avatar." Clear, it's like with all the stuff you've done to Mark and Steven, yeah, right.
So Khonshu is able to stop temporarily anyway, Emmett, as Harold has people looking for Layla. Now Mark is balanced in the field of reeds, and Taweret is trying to convince him to stay because once you leave, you can't come back. And Mark's like, nah, I'm going to go find myself, literally, because he wants to go find Steven. And then when he does find him, he found him in 2 seconds flat, which I'm thankful they did it that way because that would have drug on. That would have been annoying. And he touches him and he turns to stone too. And I was like, is it only one of them can be free at a time? But no, it's not.
Yeah, and I was kind of thinking that too, but it's more along the lines if you're on that sand, if anyone remembers a movie called Return to Oz, which is an absolutely horrifying movie to watch as a little kid, they have oh my God, what was it called? I think it's called the Deathly Sands or something like that, where basically like if you touch the sands, you just turn to sand and then died.
Well, that's horrifying.
Yeah. It was a kids movie. So,
Time to go to bed, John. You're like, no.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is kind of very reminiscent of that.
Khonshu and Emmett battle while Steven and Mark make a run for the gate. And it's the hippo for the win. And I was like, yes, this is good. Now I was starting to finally kind of like that character a little bit. Before, I wasn't really very much interested in the character, but this whole third act of the episode, I got invested in that character a little bit.
I'm telling you, she in the end is like the spiritual guide of this entire series. It was just great with how, I mean, it's like, I'm a guide and I'm really just bored doing what I'm doing, and whenever she actually starts getting involved, she's very excitable and it's very infectious.
Mark is back and it's time to do Moon Knight stuff. And then the three of them talk it out in negotiations. By three of them, I'm saying Khonshu, Mark, and Steven gets a say so in it.
Oh yeah, that whole
good.
conversation, that was great because he's just like, no, because Steven is better at the negotiating than Mark is, and so it was great when they were swapping back. You're like, no, we've got a new way of doing this now. Why don't you listen to me? And they just, it was good.
And then Mark flies off. Did you like the animation of the moon shaped?
I didn't understand that part. I mean, Khonshu is basically more or less Khonshu just picked him up and threw him is all I was kind of banking on that.
He was like, "Watch this."
Well, I mean, because like then you come back to him and he is straight up doing Superman, and the cape is all back. It's right across the desert and everything. I'm just like.
Yeah, like, where did that come from?
Yeah. Like, why haven't we seen this before? Why was he running on a building top with jackals chasing him whenever he could have just flown?
Don't ask questions, man.
Well, it's because the Khonshu had something to do with it. So that's basically what it is.
Layla is helping an avatar, the one I thought was going to be bad. And he wasn't. He ended up not obviously being bad as he died right there. But
so at this point, when he's dying, I thought that she would have became whoever's avatar he was.
I didn't think that. That's a good one. I mean, that's obvious, in retrospect. But when I was watching it, I did not think that.
It's the reason why I had to go back and watch it again, because whenever I heard the, oh my God, her name.
Taweret.
Taweret.
Yes.
So whenever we hear her voice, I was just like, I was like, wait a second, she didn't have an avatar. It's the reason why they're having this conversation. So I kind of got a little confused there. So I definitely had to go back and rewatch that to make sense of it. But yeah, I really thought that he was going to like die, and then the god of the, or that he was being the avatar for was spoken in big words, and she'd been like, but didn't happen that way. And I like the way that the way that it happened to the show.
Yeah, it sure turned out better. And then Tara reveals that she met Layla's father, so we got to put that to bed. I was so glad that they answered that, you know?
Oh, this whole scene with them going back and forth where she's just like trying to negotiate, but then like Tawat is just so happy that she's like, I finally get to have an avatar. Yay me! And all that nonsense is going on. And she's like, and I got the perfect outfit. Oh, just wait.
I got the perfect outfit. That is so funny. That was funny. I call them the Amatites. They judge everyone as Amit eats their souls. I was getting a little disturbed as she was gobbling down all those souls that they were judging out of people.
Yep. I mean, just think about the news around the world. They've been like, oh, yeah, there's a giant head now poking out of the sea left over from internals. And, oh, in Egypt, there's two gods fighting out there. Oh, and then, the sky was moving, and we had eclipse when we should have had eclipse. Perfect. So, Egypt is the place nobody wants to be. There's the reason why whenever, like, the stuff was going on and you see the beam of light, why were people even still in Egypt? I would have just left by then, but like, this place has bad juju.
Oh, my goodness. I will admit, Layla's outfit reveal was really cool.
Yes, and this is definitely, they're stealing stuff from Hawkeye or not Hawkeye, sorry, Falcon
Wonder Woman.
and or the other way around, because some of her moves that she was doing was straight up Falcon, but I almost feel that they did it in a way that it was reminiscent of Falcon, but it wasn't Falcon's moves. But man, she was hot dogging with that suit. That thing was crazy cool.
It reminded me of Wonder Woman 1984 a little bit. That armor that she puts on.
But the more important thing that we have here is the MCU it is the first hero the MCU created.
Oh, they finally can I play it? Yeah. They finally did something themselves.
Yeah.
Didn't have to borrow from
Nope.
From dead writers or anything.
The idea of the character where she came from did already pre-exist a long time ago, but it was also a man, and it wasn't very specific. But this way, I mean, you haven't seen the hide or hair of this character for decades now, and now we have a brand new person who's just going to take that name, but the powers are different because you got it from a god versus whatever he was doing before. But just like you see when in the big fight scene, she's the first Egyptian superhero.
And I love how somebody pointed that out. I was like,
well, yeah, but see,
we don't always have to point out the, we don't always have to just be on the nose with some of this stuff.
Well, I hold on, but I can understand why they're like that, because basically everyone that's in the Avengers is not all of them are out of U.S., but it's like a U.S. based company, and there's controlled by whatever government, or have to play into it, and that's not like it's not like you get Alpha Flight and it's from Canada. We haven't been introduced to that yet, or like Captain Britain, actually we have seen the what was
Black
what were you
Knight?
gonna call Black Knight? No, the Russian Captain America guy.
Yes, I know who you're talking about. From Stranger Things.
Yep.
We'll just call him David. His character on Stranger Things. All right. Hero and Moon Knight battle as Khonshu and Amit do too. So Super Layla to the rescue. And I love Steven. He was just so awesome with his, I don't know if it's his newfound confidence. Maybe it is. And then them switching in and out. That was really cool.
Well, I think what it is now that they're agreeing to be one person and they're not fighting, they have access to like more abilities, because now Steven can actually get some of the fighting capabilities that Mark has. But he's not to Mark's standard, but yeah, him jumping in there with the billy clubs and just taking people out, that was really cool. Then you look back again, and then he is instead of being a Mr. Knight, he's Moon Knight, and then we doing all that fighting. It really worked for me.
It was cool. It was really cool. Now I love how Arthur Harrow lectures Mark about gardening, just plucking that one weed out of there. And Mark, you were that weed that could have just been plucked out and your family would have been happy and all. Your brother would be alive. I was like, man, that is messed up, dude. That was so messed up. Then Mark is down and Khonshu is down too. Mark blacks out as the third personality takes over and everyone is dead, dude. I was like, John's gonna get his wish.
No, I still didn't. I only get my wish for a little bit. So, but
just a sliver.
Hold on. But we missed a part here that I have to go back because I straight up was like, whenever Harrow throws him through the wall, and then all of a sudden like a batarang comes out and goes in the wall, and he starts pulling through, and I was like, Batman. Marvel's Batman, because I was like, that is a Batman move right there, 100%. Because we have yet to have seen this grapple hook anywhere, and all of a sudden he just out of that store. I was super excited about that.
That was pretty cool. The whole fight sequence was well done. They story told, and the action was spectacular. Mm-hmm. So when you can balance that, I love those type of fights. When it's all action, it's cool, but it's just not as impactful as when somebody, Harrow is just the ultimate bad guy talking smack the entire time. He's whooping his can. He's just talking trash about, well, if you would have done this, that, and the other, that's why Khonshu's weak and this one's stronger and all this stuff. You're just like, oh, I hope you get your butt kicked.
I know. It was good. Everything about it was good. All the fight scene from all three of their perspectives.
This is where I start to have an issue, though. This is where the episode takes a dive for me a little bit. Mark and Layla start to bind Emmett to Harrow's body, and Khonshu asks Mark to kill Harrow. But even despite all the dead bodies he's dropped, and despite this being the one instance in which everybody would universally agree that you should probably go ahead and take this fool out, Layla has a kind of a problem with it, and so he doesn't do it. And I was like, that's ridiculous. You're going to leave to chance that Emmett could somehow get back out because you're just going to have this principle all of a sudden?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can kind of understand it because basically he's been Khonshu's pawn now for the longest time, and that's the reason why he was just, I'm done with it. But what you're saying is right. I agree with you. You're leaving an unknown right there in the open that if you don't deal with, is going to bite you in the butt. But
not just you.
Yeah, but this is where I think it matters, is because when we get our scene at the end, that's the reason why Khonshu let it go so easily. I have a feeling that if that didn't exist, then he would have really laid into that and said, no, you have to do this.
Okay, because it's not just his butt on the line. If Emmett gets out, that's the world. I mean, the vast majority of the world probably would pay the price. So I don't know. I was just like, okay, whatever. So the deal is over, allegedly. I'm done. But back at the psych ward, which I didn't think we were going to go back to, Dr. Harrow and Steven and Mark, of course, are having, interactions, and they see the blood from Dr. Harrow's feet. And I was like, what the heck, man? He was like, why am I bleeding and stuff? And I was just like, this is blowing my mind a little bit.
So this is calling back all the way to the beginning of episode 1. So his feet are bleeding because of the glass. And this is Mark and Steven breaking through the illusion of whatever is going on. Now, the bigger question here is, where is this illusion coming from? Is it in their heads, or is it being projected to them, and that's how they got out?
That's what I was wondering, is like, who is controlling the illusion? Was it Harrow the whole time? Because he wouldn't have the power now to do it, right?
Yeah, and that's probably the reason why he got out. But that's one of those things that's left unanswered. I do not know, and I can't even really piece something together with that.
Okay. Then they wake up at the flat. And did you think there was going to be some chicanery there where we were going to be like, oh, no, this was all just fictitious, you know? None of this really happened.
I really, when we got to that, I was really thinking that, yeah, maybe they're going to try and say this is all a dream and everything. But then the next scene.
I got that date with that girl, you know, I got to get ready.
When he face plants so hard, and he just looks up, he's like, I'm just going to go back to bed.
that would hurt really, really bad. Why would you forget that I guess if you're switching back and forth, you would.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing, too, is that if he did think it was all a dream, why would he be tied up?
True. Interesting. Okay. Can we move on to the after credits?
Yes. And this was too perfect.
Oh, man. So, in the after credits, we're in the hospital where Harrow is being wheeled past a bunch of dead freaking bodies. You knew who was wheeling him. You didn't know which personality was wheeling him. That's what I felt like for a minute there anyway, because I was like, it's too late in the game to do this. Don't do this. And so when he kicks that wheelchair, he dumps him into that limousine and kicks that wheelchair, dude. That was outstanding.
Yeah, that was really good.
But why is Khonshu dressed like a pimp?
Okay, so that's straight up out of the comic books. It's that he basically takes the Mr. Knight persona, and that's basically how he's dressed. But that's something that's reminiscent from the story or the comic book storyline that they're getting this whole series from.
Okay, interesting. So Khonshu is like, he has no idea how broken he really is, and when that little glass comes down and we see who we are sure of at this point. You know, I was sure it wasn't Mark and it wasn't Steven, but it's Jake Lockley, and he offs Harrow like Mark was unwilling to do. And we find out that Jake Lockley is the dominant personality. Technically.
Wait. Do we know that for certain?
Yes. Because they have no idea how broken they truly are.
Oh, okay. So there is so much stuff going on in this, and let's see if I can skip through them. Gotta scroll back down because I just passed it. Okay, so first off, if we do get to see a scene of the goldfish tank, and by the way, there are 2 goldfish in the goldfish tank now.
One fin apiece?
No. One has one missing fin, and the other one is perfectly fine.
Okay.
So, the entire hospital scene in there's a whole bunch of stuff going on there. The rubber ducky that you see, that's supposed to be the transpiring of Harrow as the previous doctor into this. There's a QR code as they're coming around the corner on one of the posters that goes to another comic book, but apparently that comic book is also tied to Kang. So that's another thing that's going to be coming up. Did you notice that the limo said Spectre on it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because now they're trying to say which one of them is the one that has all the money, which might be Mark.
Wow, that's weird. Okay.
But Jake Lockley, he used to be a cab driver, and in the comics, and so in this, he's wearing the same kind of cap that he would wear there, and to kind of give him that persona of being a cab driver, that's why he's driving the limo.
Nice.
So that's their nod at stuff. Now, also, the hospital is a Marvel artist nod. So, oh my God, I'm not even gonna be able to say that. Sien Quiz. Oh, geez. SIENKIEWICZ. Nope.
Interesting. Yeah,
That place.
Interesting.
Anyway, that is one of the artists from the Moon Knight series. So let's see, what else do I have here? And I think that, oh yeah, in this suit, the suit's from It's from one of the the comic book series back from 2016. And yeah, no, that was about it. I really like this episode. So it's
Okay.
and guess let's get into our ratings there.
Okay. It's time to dole out our ratings since you're so hyped up. Do you want to go first?
I'm gonna give this an 8.5.
Nice.
I think they did a good job with being able to tell this story. And think about this. You just watched a 6-episode series that was mind-bending, and the MCU did not help it at all.
That's a good point.
There's no mention of anyone from the MCU. There's no mentioning of any happening from the MCU. There's no tie-in about talking about other gods outside of the fact that we know that there are connections because specific people live in specific planes. But there was never anything from the MCU that actually connected to affect this or to even promote it. And that was what I took away from this, is that they made a series from a character that not that many people really follow, made it more about the human psyche and how it can be broken, still gave you comic book relief at the end, created a new comic book superhero, and a specific one that's, an Egyptian one, and then had the gall to turn around and give us our third personality at the end, so at least he didn't forget about it. And when I say it in gall, I mean more along the lines like, of course you do it right here at the very end, but I'm still totally okay with that. They put a lot of hidden stuff in here and some deep cuts too. So to me, there was like one episode that was lost, but this episode I think made up for a lot of it. And then looking at the series as a whole, I would even give that an 8.5 as well, because it was good.
All right. I was pretty close to that. I thought this episode was pretty solid. I did feel like that the whole idea of Mark not taking out Harrow, who absolutely deserved it in this series, was more of a writer ploy to just get the mechanism for the Jake Lockley reveal more so than an actual truthful way that the character truly developed, even though we saw the character develop over the series.
Yeah.
But in that situation, I mean, any rational individual would be like, you know what, Harrow is really bad. But
Yep.
that was the only thing that I really had a problem with. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was a good episode. I had a lot of fun.
So what about the series overall?
I really would have to think on that, because I think they missed some opportunities. Like, your flashback episode would have been amazing had they tucked that in right after that episode, like you said. I really think they missed an opportunity there. I think you could have done a little more. I don't think you had to make the Jake Lockley reveal at the very, very end. I think you could have sprinkled it in more than they did. They did have it in there. We know this. We caught several of them. But I think you could have actually given it to us to where this end part isn't such oh, wow, like, I think they were going for that jaw-dropping finish, and instead they could have just tied the series up or season, whichever it is. They could have just tied it up with a nice little bow and given us a little more insight to Lockley. I would have appreciated that a little more than what they did.
Okay.
I would have to think about it overall. I'd probably be in the 7 to 7.5 range. I would probably be overall. Feedback, you ready to get into that?
Absolutely.
Randy dropped a quick note to us on Facebook. He said he thought that the ending left a lot of questions, especially if there won't be a season 2. I agree, obviously, with that sentiment. Just if they're, I don't know if they're going to do a season 2 or not, but if they don't, man, you opened a can that we'll never get to.
But see, I think clearly that's done on purpose, because now that helps draw in more attention and more like people wanting to have a second season. So they finish off those storylines. And so I do believe that when they ended this, they ended it with the thought that, all right, if we have a season 2, we have some questions that need to be answered and we'll be able to do it. But if we don't have a season 2, I think we'll be where we're at is okay to leave.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Richard says, John, are you happy that the personality you've been talking about for weeks now finally made an appearance, or is it too little, too late?
Actually, I was thinking that whenever Harrow was sitting there having that conversation with him in the psych ward there towards the end, and whenever it was Steven and then it switched, I thought it's actually switched to the guy then. Because he had this like look to him that didn't look like Mark, and he kind of had a little extra gravelly voice. So I actually thought that that's what was going on. Because whenever he said Mark and Mark responded, I just thought he was just plain ignorant. But then he started doing Mark mannerisms and stuff like that. That's what I thought was going on, is that he broke through before then. But unfortunately, that's not what happened. But we knew that character was there all the time. I mean, at least was it every episode? Like whenever he had a blackout that everyone is basically just lying around dead, that was Lockley.
Yes, and I yes. Yeah. All right. Angie says, I felt cheated by this series with many things either unexplained or completely left out of the story altogether. What do you think about the writing overall? Any thoughts on that one?
Considering that the subject matter that they tackled was pretty heavy and something that I would never have expected Disney to do, I'm going to have to give them credit where credit's due. I mean, they did a good job of like hitting all the hard points of reality and the mental condition. So, I mean, you can say that there's some like missed opportunities in there. And yeah, maybe I think if we had a little bit more depth of Harrow, that would have been nice. But I can't complain too much. It was 6 episodes. There's only so much you could do with 6 episodes.
Right. I do think there were some missed opportunities as well, but overall, I think it panned out better than I expected, because I was starting to go down the edge on, oh, they're just going to do this, this, and this. And they swerved on each of those things. Mm-hmm. That's good for me, because I hate when I can just pick out, oh, this is going to happen and that's going to happen. Duh. All right. Elizabeth says, hi, Hank and John. Talking corpses? Not funny, especially after the previous episode. Yeah, that was weird. I am all in on that, because I was like, yikes, that was kind of disturbing when Layla's walking through and they're hey.
No, the best one was whenever she's talking to that other avatar and she's calling it Twat's name, and then all of a sudden he's like, wait, what was her name again? No, Allison, right? So. And she just all of a sudden just screams it, and everyone's like, "What was that?" You know. But that's like the party girl inside her. She was so excited. So I enjoyed it, especially whenever like the guy just kept dying a little bit more and coming back and then dying again and then coming back. And you're like, "Dude, just get the sentence out. Come on!" But it made it kind of comical, because it just showed the being that was possessing them. I mean, she's not comical. She's trying to do a job there, but they just made it feel a little bit more lively, which is a really weird statement to say when we're talking about a dead person. Oh, what's the sound effect I'm getting? Yep. Thank you. I'm here all weekend.
Oh, man. All right. Elizabeth goes on to say, did you think of Loki when the crocodile goddess turned up? I did not, but that would have been great if she'd have been like, yeah, I got a date with the superior Loki.
Yeah, no, I think Gator Loki would be kind of upset and probably crawling back and being like, never mind.
Nah. He's swiping on his little smartphone.
Well, remember there would be a tiny little gator versus, maybe he likes, I can't believe I'm about to say this. Maybe he likes big girls because he's giant.
Oh man. Layla has a Wakanda grade hero suit. That is a cool concept. What was? I wonder what that was made out of. 'Cause
It
was
doesn't matter what it was made out of because
ricochet and bullets.
Mark can get shot and then the bullets disappear. Doesn't matter. It's an Avatar suit, so I mean, it's going to have godly powers.
Interesting.
Because I mean, again, think about all the stuff that Mark does, and he survives. That means that more or less she's going to end up being able to do something similar in retrospect, which would be, you know, bulletproof wings. Actually, which aren't really wings; they're just a whole bunch of swords.
And then Elizabeth says, didn't understand the ending at all. And that's what I was kind of saying earlier is why they should have fully introduced Jake Lockley into this earlier. So people who aren't comics or not hovering over news reports and stuff could have got a sense of, oh, this is this third personality. This is what they do. And this is how they act. I think that would have been better. I kind of can understand where she's coming from on that.
Yeah, I agree.
There was a blurry QR code on the hospital poster at the very end. That's the one you pointed out, correct?
Yep.
Might have been a red herring, but I'm going to be on the lookout for QR codes in Disney Plus shows now. Oh my goodness. I think we have to now because
I mean,
they're
that's how you
starting
get
to...
your free. That's how you get your free comic books now.
Yeah, and they're starting to use that a lot in these series, so we'll see. Thank you for your thoughtful discussions every week. Your podcast is the only reason I watched this. Best, Elizabeth. Oh, that is so flattering.
Wow.
That is very flattering. So I appreciate it. John, if I talked about all the people that don't watch the series but listen to our podcast, you would be like me, where you're just like, that's crazy. You know, part of you feels like, oh, that's crazy or something. You know, there's people that do not watch the episodes, only listen to the podcast.
I can't believe there's people out there who just want to listen to me just ramble on and forget things out front.
And forget every other sentence. Yes, me too. Me fumbling the intro. Yes, they want to hear it.
Or waiting for your sound effects to come through.
Yeah, that's true.
Or playing the appropriate sound effect whenever something happens there, Mr. Hank.
I can just reach over there and hit something.
It's an interesting theory.
Oops, wrong one.
See?
We have one more message. But before that, after you watch Doctor Strange, tune into our TV and movie reviews podcast and hear me and John we're going to watch the movie Sunday, and we are going to review the movie Sunday afternoon, and that'll be out by Sunday evening. The podcast will be out. So if you want to hear our thoughts after you've watched Doctor Strange, definitely subscribe to TV and Movie Reviews Podcast. That's tpenetwork.com/subscribe.
And I just want to say that I don't normally do a lot of the movies, but considering that this movie is the end results of a lot of the Disney Plus shows that we just saw, it probably would make the most sense to have the people who are dealing with all those shows talk about the movie that's dealing with the outcome from that said shows.
Yeah. Plus Mel's on vacation. All right.
Is he what? Is he at the beach?
He could be.
Oh, Mel.
He's on assignment. All right. The last message comes to us from Russ. Russ, we love hearing from you as well. Hi, Hank and John. Now that we've completed the Moon Knight show, how do you feel about the Disney Plus Marvel shows as a whole? Let's stop right there. I'm going to say, for me personally, it's a mixed bag because some of these shows are really doing some good character development and such. And then some of the shows are just like backdoor pilots for other characters to me, which there's nothing wrong with that, I guess. But if I want, call it the Kate Bishop show if you want it to, call it Kate Bishop Hawkeye or something like that. That's the part that I'm getting a little, I don't know what the right term would be. Not annoyed, but just tell me what I'm getting into. I kind of want to see Hawkeye do Hawkeye stuff. I want to see Loki do Loki stuff, not a bunch of Lokis doing a bunch of Loki stuff.
Well,
Just my own personal gripe.
what about whenever we get Ms. Marvel? I mean, you're only getting Ms. Marvel, and it's gonna it's the show
Be
that
like
you're not
10
gonna watch.
Right. It's gonna be like 10-year-old's dream or something. Yeah. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I think Marvel, they're gonna come up to a fence here pretty soon where you either have to build characters like Layla, build them out, and make us invested in them and care about them, or B, you're going to have to give us the characters we really, really are asking for. You're going to have to do one of those two things. You can't keep kind of straddling the fence and going, here's a little bit of Hawkeye, but here's this other character, which Kate Bishop was cool. I enjoyed the character more than most people did.
Yeah, I mean, whenever they actually start pulling together all the Fox properties into it, and finalize all the Netflix series that they had into it, then I think it'll help stitch this together a little bit more. But you're right. But think about it this way: we're 10 plus years into this, into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We're only 2 years into. Are we 2 years into the Disney Plus, or are we 3 years?
Feels
like we just started. Honestly,
I don't know. It does feel like we just started.
But
might be just 2 years in.
I mean, I still have interest in all this. I mean, it's nice because that's the one thing that is hard in a comic book world. There are so many comic books. There's so many characters, and you want to see them all, but there's never a show or a movie or anything that's going to feature them. But if they have all these individual ones that can help factor in all these littler ones that you don't normally get, I mean, that's making their audience a lot more broader. At the same time, it's giving us the character connections that will end up being used later on down the road.
All right. Russ goes on to say, do you think these shows have been a positive addition to the world building of the MCU?
Yes.
Or is it a case of too much content potentially watering down the overall product? And that's from Russ. Russ, thank you so much. We appreciate your consistent support of TPE Network, retweets, everything. You're awesome too, as with everyone that listens. Elizabeth, same with you, Angie, Richard. I will say this. It is not, there's no such thing as superhero fatigue if you tell good stories that people are asking for. But when you start consistently telling stories that no one wants or very few people want, you are going to turn people off. I know a lot of people who are just done. They've canceled their Disney Plus, or they feel like I have to, in order to watch such and such, I have to go watch 7 seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and 3 seasons of this and 2 seasons, and I'm thinking that how come you can't just tell a contained story like this? Look how this turned out. And like you said, John, they're not tying this into the MCU and all this and all that. So I'm with you on that. Maybe tell and here's a thing that I want to just mention super quick. What about telling a story in a different timeline? So like if you didn't, instead of rebooting Batman for the 500th time in present day, why not tell a Batman story from the 70s or 80s or something and have it fit like in that genre and stuff, so it's its own story? Just something like that, instead of, hey, Uncle Ben dies.
Hey, I would point out that in Batman, we did have Batman in the 80s, and the movie came out in the 80s. I mean, just saying. Not sure if you're aware of that, but
oh, I am very aware of that movie. Batman.
Actually,
but you know what I'm
didn't
saying.
We technically get a movie in the 70s too? When did the Adam West Batman movie come around?
Oh my
with
goodness!
with the shark
Yikes.
spray.
Yikes! Hit him with a shark spray, Robin. Goofy Batman.
Yep.
But Russ, those are some really good questions. I'm not fatigued. I want good stories. I want good cohesive stories that a writer can say they know who Mephisto is.
Gosh darn
Unlike
it.
the writer for the, I'm just saying, the writer for the freaking WandaVision was like, who's Mephisto? And I'm
No,
like,
no, no. I
that's
think
like a
that's-
pivotal character in the story that you're trying to, whatever.
No, you just
I'll let it
wanted
go.
the game. I completely forgot to try and slip Mephisto in there in some way, and you just did it before me. So go ahead, give yourself a point.
Thank you. Achievement unlocked. Mephisto, and I'm going to be rooting for Mephisto to show up in future Disney Plus series. That's what I
I'm going to be
want.
for Nightmare.
Okay, interesting. Okay. But once again, join us for our review of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness coming up Sunday afternoon. We cannot wait for that. There could potentially be something that our particular community is going to care about more than any other thing. So
Ooh.
if that happens, you'll know it when you see it. All right, let's go. For John Alec, until the next time, we are signing off.
Later, Gators.
TPE Network. There ain't